Picture, if you will, a schoolroom in the autumn of 1914. The smell of chalk dust and pine floors, rows of children standing between their desks with small coloured flags raised above their heads, arms held rigid at precise angles, eyes fixed on a teacher calling out positions in a clipped military cadence. The windows are open. Somewhere beyond the village rooftops, a war has just begun. These children are not playing. They are being prepared. The decision to introduce military semaphore flag drills into physical education lessons was a deliberate, calculated response to a world suddenly at war and to decades of quiet alarm about the physical and moral condition of the nation's youth. What unfolded in those classrooms was one of the most fascinating, forgotten episodes in survival education, holding extraordinary lessons for anyone who values fieldcraft and self-reliance. During the Boer War, British military recruiters were shaken by what they found: a generation of young men who were underfed, round-shouldered, and physically unfit for service. Semaphore flag drills provided something calisthenics alone could not: mental precision, pattern recognition, and real-time coordination under scrutiny. A child holding a flag at the wrong angle transmitted the wrong letter. Every arm position was either correct or it was not. This blended physical education with moral training, forging a mind that could act correctly and swiftly under pressure, a quality essential for both the modern workplace and the modern battlefield. Communication in the labyrinth of trenches was as much about silence as it was about words. Messages had to travel across shattered landscapes under the constant threat of enemy observation and artillery. Here, every gesture, every signal, and every pause carried weight. The very shape of the trenches, their twists and turns, reflected a language of necessity, one shaped by geography, danger, and the relentless need to connect. What those school teachers were unknowingly doing was teaching one of the oldest fieldcraft principles known to military history: silent, long-range communication through the body itself. In the trenches of the Western Front, the ability to relay a message visually, without sound, without wire, and without being overheard, could mean the difference between a coordinated assault and catastrophe. Signallers trained in semaphore could transmit up to 30 words per minute between observation posts, relay artillery coordinates across broken ground, or alert a distant section to incoming shell fire. The children waving those bright classroom flags were rehearsing a language of survival their older brothers were using under fire in France and Flanders. Step forward into the landscape those children would eventually inhabit. The trenches smelled of mud, cordite, and decay. Rats moved through the duckboards at night. Sleep came in 2-hour fragments. Soldiers dug small burrows called funk holes into trench walls, lined with sandbags and covered with corrugated iron. They learned to read the ground for drainage, seal entrances against gas, and cook over tiny shielded flames using upturned tin cans with punched air holes, the identical principle to the hobo stove familiar to every modern bushcrafter. Water was collected from tarpaulins, stretched at angles, boiled without exception, and carried in any container available. These were not textbook techniques. They were field innovations born from thirst and necessity. Adaptation and legacy have always gone hand in hand, shaping not only the outcome of conflict, but also the enduring lessons passed from one generation to the next. The skills honed in the crucible of necessity become the foundation for future innovation and resilience. It's in these moments of challenge that true ingenuity emerges, leaving a mark that lasts far beyond the battlefield. Snipers on both sides refined personal concealment using ghillie suits, Hessian strips in earth tones that shattered the human silhouette, while soldiers learned to read the ground like a tracker reads a trail. A shadow falling at the wrong angle, smoke rising from a position that should be cold, the absence of birds over a section of parapet. These signs were survival information in the most literal sense. Hygiene proved equally decisive. Trench foot killed as many men as enemy fire in the war's early months until the solution was discovered. Dry socks rotated and kept warm against the body, and whale oil applied as a moisture barrier. Simple, brutal, effective, and directly applicable to any modern wilderness expedition. The children who stood in those 1914 classrooms were being shaped into people who could function with precision under pressure, communicate without words, and adapt a technique originally designed for one purpose to serve another. That is not a military skill, that is a human skill, and the same skill that builds a shelter from what the forest provides, reads weather in moving clouds, and keeps a fire invisible from distance. The classroom and the battlefield were teaching the same lesson. It has never become irrelevant. Subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles and share this video with the history enthusiasts, bushcrafters, and curious minds in your life who understand that the best survival education isn't found in gear catalogues. It's found in the stories of those who survived before us. The flags are still waving. Are you watching? Are still